Hey guys, there's a saying that you really need to know right now. If you're a first time home buyer or you're an investor, never let a good crisis go to waste. I'm Rhys from the Vanguard team at Manor Realty. I'm with Steve Jarrouge. We're going to do a market update today, but look, is just as importantly as telling you what's going on in the market, Steve and I don't want to fully disclose Steve and tell me if I can't do this, but Steve and I have gotten independently wealthy through real estate investment. And we still sell real estate on the Vanguard team in Windsor, and we practice what we preach to our clients. Have I said too much, Steve?
Nope, not at all.
So, guys, what the advice we're going to give you today is the advice that Steve and I follow. And you've probably heard Warren Buffett say that when people are fearless, be fearful. And more importantly, right now, this is one of those times where be fearless when they are fearful, right? People are scared right now, right? They're all freaked out with Trump's tariffs and those sorts of things. But Steve and I today, we're going to get into why you don't let a good crisis go to waste, as I earlier said. Steve, thanks for joining us today.
No problem. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Steve and I have worked together for over 15 years, and Steve's had the unfortunate social issue of me being in his life since high school down here in Windsor, Ontario. And
Feel
if you
like an
don't know
appendage.
Steve is your preeminent expert down here in Windsor for multifamily sales between 2 units and 6 units, and is also extremely well versed in student rental property sales. And Steve and I were just talking before we started videotaping here. And Steve, I'm going to give it over to you, but Steve had a couple of excellent observations. So go for it, man. With the market right now.
Sure. Well, just like a lot of investors, I follow the market every day, including YouTube, local Southwestern Ontario YouTubers giving market updates, mortgage specialists, and realtors. A lot of it is in doom and gloom. Um,
It's all doom and gloom. They're
it's
all
all,
they're all they're all
at
fear
least right
mongering, or
now.
they're naturally scared. Yeah.
And, and it might be doom and gloom in other cities, maybe around the Greater Toronto area or
And we don't know that because we don't care. We just focus on Windsor.
correct.
Yeah.
I'm
I don't
looking
know.
for more localized statistics and more updates and whatnot. And a lot of it doesn't apply. Um, a lot of what I find on YouTube, like I said, doom and gloom. But I find it's a fantastic opportunity to buy, at least here in Windsor, where we know the market inside and out.
People would be shocked to know that our number one residential demographic buying right now are new home buyers, first time home buyers. That's our number one sales demographic, and it hasn't been like that, I don't think, ever. Not since we've been tracking it, right? And it's like, why? Why are the first time home buyers jumping in right now? And it's because it's something that the Financial Post referenced as the Goldilocks zone, where you've got a bunch of people sitting on the fence because there was an election and Trump and his tariffs, and so a lot of people held off buying, even though interest rates were getting lower and lower and continue to get lower and lower. And so with the first time home buyers and the new home buyers, when you're also adding that new buyer home incentive from like CMHC, they're all buying right now, right? And it's kind of funny to watch rookie buyers buying and people that have been buying and selling homes for 20, 30 years that aren't moving, right? With income property sales, Steve, I don't know if you're seeing this, but I'm seeing the veteran wealthiest investors investing, and we're seeing sort of more of that sort of middle class, buying one duplex sort of person holding off. Is that accurate? Is that fair to say?
Uh, I'm getting a mix, but
Okay,
mostly the experienced ones are buying.
they're revving up, right? They're
Those
accelerating, not
a few new clients who are willing to take my advice are jumping into the market for the first time.
sure, yeah.
But I'll use myself as an example. I've been buying buildings for 21 years. The last one I bought was in 2021, at the end of 2021. I haven't bought anything since. Right now, I'm in the process of buying two buildings and I'm trying to find two more. So the rates have come down significantly to
Yep.
where it now makes sense. Um, sure, the rates might actually continue to go down a little bit more, but you're not trying to time the market like a stock analyst.
Yeah, and
You're trying to drift
similar
your
to you, I
way.
didn't do anything for a few years. I was working on the projects that we were doing, and now
And I've been working on mine.
we've
Yeah,
revved up into buy mode again. And we've got offers on three different properties right now. Our group. Yeah, so same as you. I mean, we're all revving up, and okay. So this is Windsor mentality, guys, and then we'll get into the marketing, the market update that we've got, the spreadsheet. So guys, getting into Windsor mentality for a second. If you're not from Windsor, if you're from Windsor, you get this. If you're not from Windsor, you don't realize this. Canada is collectively panicking about once every 10 to 15 years about something the United States does, right? Right now, it's tariffs, right? Um, for Windsor, we're used to dealing with the disaster du jour from America every 3 to 5 years. And I'll give you an example to put some meat on the bones. When George W. Bush was president, Canadian money was at par with American money. The rest of Canada goes, yeah, that's great. Windsor goes, oh my God, we're an exporting city. We can't make a profit, right? The Canadian dollar's too strong. The Canadian dollar's got to be at least 1.2 weaker than the American dollar to make money in our manufacturing. 9/11, rest of Canada, all those poor Americans, I'll pray for them, right? Windsor, oh my God, how are we going to get our trucks across the border? Right? They shut down the border for 2 weeks. What are we going to do? This is just in time delivery. We're freaking out. The point being, guys, is that this might feel like a crisis to you with Trump. To us, and Steve just said the word blip. This is a blip to us. And what Steve probably doesn't know is that the mayor used the exact same word. The mayor just said, this is another blip we have to deal with. And Steve, independently, before we started shooting this today, said, it's another blip.
yeah. I
We
didn't
have
know
to
he
deal
said.
with this all. Go ahead.
I
Yeah.
didn't know he said that, but it's
Yeah.
just my observation over the last 21 years of
Yeah.
buying buildings and the market, the Windsor market.
We
There's always
deal
something. There's
we
always
deal with
something.
this look, and this is not knocking the rest of Canada, but Windsor is the most resilient city in Canada by a wide margin. This stuff doesn't bother us. And we still have the announcements coming in. Like since the tariffs got announced, a Taiwanese company announced 1,140 jobs at a plant they're building in Windsor. And those aren't unskilled labor. Those are all skilled. Those are all skilled jobs, high paying jobs. And those announcements continue to come. Some manufacturers are holding off. A couple of smaller American manufacturers are shrinking their operations to the Detroit side while the tariffs go on. I think it's just one Titan Tool, right? Titan Tool is, I think, the only one that's uprooted so far.
Possibly.
But again, guys, they're not selling their building. They're going to come back after the dust settles.
And
But yeah, like
investors, at least the investors I work with, are not looking for short term. You know, to own a property 2 to 5 years, they're looking for the medium to long term. And
yeah,
if you are holding a property for a minimum of, let's say, 5 years, 5 to 10 years, then fantastic.
and if you're playing that long game, you're talking about a situation where your property value, guys, historically goes up 5% a year. That's since 1867. It's almost a straight line, and that's what Steve's getting at is, when things are going on or not going on in the short term shouldn't affect your decision making to invest over the long term, especially right now. Look, you've got a city that's added 77,000 people in the last 2 years, and we don't have enough housing, right? Like, where are all these people going? Supply and demand, it drives up prices. And your interest rates are low right now. So take advantage, because as soon as things like the tariffs go away, as soon as we get a deal struck, and what we will have a deal struck with the United States over the next 5 to 6 months, if not way less. When that happens, everybody goes back to buying, the herd comes back, right? The herd comes back and puts all the pressure on the best possible properties you could have invested in, but you
Exactly.
didn't because you followed the herd. Right now, you buy when the prices are better, when the opportunities are better, right? Yeah, will there be opportunities when the herd comes back? Sure, there's always opportunities, but the best opportunities are right now. Steve, am I wrong, Steve?
That's why I'm buying these
Yeah.
buildings right now, because normally I would be in multiple offers paying more than it's worth. But everyone
Yes.
seems to be holding off. The majority of investors seem to be on the sidelines holding off.
Yeah.
So us seasoned investors know that we can jump in there and get the good properties now. My very
I,
first property I bought in 2004, the the vacancy rate in Windsor was something like 11%. It was
oh
huge,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
I
Oh yeah.
remember everyone complaining how high it was. Landlords and people who didn't.
It got up to 16%.
Yeah, well, it was down to 11 when I bought my first property.
Yes.
I had it fully rented every year for 10 years before I sold that property. And I kept buying every couple of years. I'd buy more buildings. So when there's doom and gloom, I saw an opportunity.
That's
I
right.
would just and I don't.
I'm in Old Walkerville right now, guys, and there's a running joke. This is a distillery district that Steve owns one of the prominent buildings in the distillery district. I own one of the prominent buildings in the distillery district, and then another guy. Oh, look at those balloons! What I do this? Did you see that?
I
Did you see
saw
the balloons?
that.
What was that?
I
Hold on.
didn't know if you had a budget for
I was going
special
like
effects
this, and the
here.
balloons came up. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Um, balloons aside, guys. So Steve owns one of the prominent buildings in the distillery district where Canadian Club whiskey comes from. I own one of the prominent buildings, and then this other guy owns all the other ones. And I'm not going to say his name because I don't have permission, but he's a hell of a nice guy. I'm grabbing a coffee with him in a couple of days. And anyway, he always buys when everybody's panicking. When
Yeah.
everybody's panicking, he opens up the checkbook and very quietly buys a couple more. And he's done that his entire career, man. And it's not sort of the global meltdown, unfortunately, guys. Like you're not going to get steal after steal.
It's a
Um,
mindset, Reese.
but yeah,
It's a mindset.
yeah,
Case in point, within the last couple of weeks, they are making our historic neighborhood actually a heritage, like a distillery district and whatnot, and they're actually passing it. Um, but somebody
yeah. The
said,
district thing, yeah, yeah,
yeah, they're redistricting and to make it a more heritage neighborhood. I am happy about that.
sure,
And someone said, "Are you going to sell off?" Because I own many buildings in the area. I go, and they said, "Are you going to sell them all off now that they're doing that? You're going to be limited to what you could do." I said, "No, I'm happy. One of the
yeah.
buildings I'm buying right now is in the area."
Of course,
Um, and so I'm happy they're doing that. It's a complete mindset, you know,
it is, man.
of how you
It
approach
is.
it.
Yeah, I mean, you can call it contrarian, guys, but it basically, when people are scared, that's when you should be investing, right? It's the complete opposite of, probably what your instincts are telling you. But it was Steve and I practice what we preach. And, um, again, sorry, Steve, I'm saying too much, but Steve's got a Lambo, and Steve was the first guy to get the newest Lotus in town, right? And I live in a decent house, and it's because we practice what we preach. What we're telling you on this stupid YouTube video is exactly what we do, and we're encouraging you to do the same thing.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah,
It
guys,
is
if you
not.
want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, there is our at Windsor, Ontario Real Estate. And we do videos like this all the time. Sometimes it can be long-winded and boring, but it's always going to be accurate and informational. Steve, let's just quickly rip through the market update to end the video. We should have started with it, but we started telling our grandpa stories. Really quickly, guys, it's a sort of flatlining market, right? You can see that the number of listings are up, but fairly close, and median sales price. If you don't know what median is, I like it way more than average. Average just takes if there's 50 sales in a month, it takes those 50 properties and it averages them. The problem is if 20 of those properties were luxury home sales, it skews the numbers and you can't really tell what's going on. Median just says, if there's 100 homes sold, what did the 50th one sell for? Right in the middle. What did the 50th one sell for? Right. So I like median, and median, you can tell, again, it's pretty much flatlined. What I find interesting, Steve, is the months of inventory dropped, even though the number of new listings went up. So that's telling me people are starting to buy again. Any comments on that at all before I flip?
The majority of my clients are still on the sidelines
Okay.
and they do need to. Now, these could be, I only deal with investors. I eat,
Yeah.
sleep, and breathe investment properties and investors.
Yes.
These might be single family homes. The majority of them are, I'm sure, are single family homes. So that's
Yeah.
not my specialty.
No, but you're giving a sense of what's going on. It's there are a lot of right across the team. There's a lot of people holding off listing their homes for sale. I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, guys, this is year to date. So last year is the purple bars, and this year is the yellow bars. And what you can see is sales are significantly down. And this is a knock-on effect from, again, the threat of tariffs. So people are holding off, and it's also to do with the fact that we just had an election. So when you have a federal election, sales always drop substantially. Don't know why, but they always do, and that happens right across North America. Same thing in the States.
Rhys, can I say a quick thing about
Yeah,
the last slide? I'm personally finding a lot of investors, maybe because the doom and gloom on YouTube or whatnot, but they are calling me to list their properties for sale. So I am for investment properties. There are an unusually high amount of listings right now for investment properties, 2 to 6 units on the market. And I'm
right.
also getting calls to list the properties for sale, but the
Yes.
buyers are not out there yet. So it's a fantastic time to buy.
Yeah.
These properties I'm buying were out there, and it's a perfect time to buy because you have a lot to choose from, and you don't have much competition for those buildings.
Yeah, the prices right now, Steve, compared to sort of late 2021, early 2022, are still significantly down, are they not? Because that was like a peak. That was like the stupids, right?
They're down.
Yeah,
One of the buildings I'm buying is down a couple $100,000
there
from
you
what
go.
they bought it for at the peak.
Yeah, yeah. Actually,
So
Greg Myell and our team's putting an offer in today for a value add specialist who isn't scared,
yeah,
and because the math makes sense, right? And I think that's the other thing to think about here, guys, is fear is emotional, mathematics is rational, right? So Steve is looking at cash flow analyses and telling you which properties to go for. And just as importantly, Steve is also telling you which properties to avoid, right?
more so to avoid than to buy. Yeah,
Yeah, well, most of them you don't want to buy, right? Most of
yeah.
them are junk. Yeah, so you got to be able to have somebody like Steve to guide you through that so that you don't sort of get stuck with one of the crappy below average ones out there.
It
We're
also
not going to.
help. It also helps that I've been renovating and building units for 21 years, so I have a
I
pretty
got you
decent
beat.
construction
I'm
knowledge.
gonna one up you here. What am I? I'm 28 years.
28 years.
28 years I've been doing it. Yeah, as an investor, and then 22 years as a real estate agent. Yeah, already.
But
Guys, you can see year over year. Again, look how flat those lines are year over year. It really does make for boring videos because it's flat lined. It's the story underneath the numbers, right? And that's what Steve and I are trying to provide to you guys today. Market activity. All this means is sales plus listings, and combined they're up over the year. But again, you're not making decisions on that today. You got to make them on the fact that there's a low interest rate which continues to drop. Windsor's economy continues to explode despite the threat of tariffs. And we added 77,000 people in the last 2 years. So where the hell are they supposed to live? Supply and demand. All right. As far as the residential units being sold, you would think it'd be more of a bell curve here, right? But there's not. Look at that drop from, basically people are buying between 300,000 and 700,000 over and over and over again. There's like barely anything below. And look at that drop. It's like a freaking cliff. Boom. Right? So as soon as you start hitting 700,000, look how tepid it gets and how quickly it gets tepid. Right? So bear in mind, you're, especially as an investor, you're here, new home buyers, you're here, right? And that's who's buying right now. And that's why it's so squeezed and stacked in the middle. And that's about it. Steve, you got anything to add?
No, I think we covered it pretty well.
Guys, you can just pause the screen if you want our contact information. I'm going to close it.
Yeah, so we're here to help investors. At least I'm here to help investors achieve their goals. Whatever your goals may be. I have a financial advisory background for many years at the big banks.
He's also got an MBA degree from a Cracker Jack box, guys. So he's got it all. Yeah, he's got the.
My experience trumps, I think, my education. But the point is, it's not rocket science. We can help you build your portfolios and achieve your goals. It's not rocket science.
No,
we have an extreme amount of experience helping clients achieve their goals.
Guys, we've had unskilled line workers from Stellantis converted into multimillionaires. One of my contractors is worth over $4 million. And he came down from Brantford as a divorcee with a few grand in his pocket. A literal ditch digger, retired with over $7 million. He owns a cottage on, I think, Elephant Lake now, up around Peterborough. So that's what Steve and I do, and we've been doing it for a long time. If you hitch your wagon with us for about 5 to 7 years, you'll thank yourself later. Steve is a hell of a guide. You listen to him, you do what he tells you, and you'll build up sort of passive wealth before you know it. So, Steve, thank you for joining us today.
No problem.
And I hope I got through to at least a couple of you today. Okay. Everybody's scared right now. This is when you're supposed to invest for the reasons that Steve and I have discussed today. Steve, thanks for joining us, man.
My pleasure.